read an article maybe 10 or 15 years ago where Philips Electronics in the Netherlands, they had a rule of thumb that for every 10 engineers they would put an artist in among them. Engineers tend to actually, they want the problem put in front of them and then they'll actually solve it. The artistic side tends to actually maybe be a bit more abstract and a bit more the dreamy side, and then the engineers take that dream and actually turn it into reality.
I thought it was actually, for an artist residency, it was reasonably long. I was here for 6 months and it turned into the best part of the year because we did a large, rather ambitious exhibition at the end of it together, yes, which was fantastic and worked out great. I had so many different ideas in investigations, and I actually had time to go down some sort of dead-end roads to make decisions, and for artists that's a very precious thing to do, I think, as much as it is for scientists really, because research often doesn't all succeed, as John knows, and I've witnessed some of the working processes here, which is very, very pioneering research behind these doors here, and some of the things work out and some of them don't, and that's the same for us artists. So I think the time allowed in what John mentioned here as well, that we're all kind of stumbling around in the dark for a few months, was very important to make such, I hope, good results or something worthwhile, hopefully, for people to be inspired to think about.
The mirrors was from our previous life, but we'd done a lot of molds for the automotive sector for rear view mirrors. When Tinka came in at the start, I suppose based on the team that we were trying to help companies bring medical devices to market, she was trying to say, well, how could she develop that? And she just picked up one of the rear view mirrors, and her interpretation of it was that when you look back, you can look back right to your childhood. You see yourself as a young child with your parents, and everybody is actually healthy. And as you go forward to your present day, your parents are getting old, you're getting older as well, and that people are collecting diseases and whatever. So she played with that theme. You know, I thought it was a very interesting concept, and something that we totally would not have come up with ourselves. I suppose we were going into the world of abstract. There wasn't necessarily going to be a tangible result at the end of this because we couldn't describe it. Yes, there was a lot of anxiety, not in a bad way, but I suppose none of us really knew what the end result of this would be. Yes, there were some people that right up to a day before the exhibition, the final result, they were still scratching their heads as to what this might look like.
Yeah, but I think this is the challenge and the interesting thing about working in context outside of, for me, outside of the art world, more or less, outside of the peer group, because there is a much more, of course, we all studied the same things, we all know more or less certain cornerstones of what we're talking about, whereas here I thought I had some very different and very interesting conversations, yes, and not everybody who's studied engineering or whatever will take to art. I mean, that is a given, but I think it's really interesting to be placed in a situation where you have to also, it helps you clarify your own thoughts and look at your own practice quite differently, because it's a much bigger world, and I think it's an interesting challenge, but I think it's also an important one.